Welcome to The Gritcast, where we get into the nitty-gritty of all things hockey. From the East to the West Coast. Here are your hosts, Matt Pierce, Nikosh Ganguly, and Darius Dominguez.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first edition of what we're calling The Gritcast Remixed. Kind of a working title for now, but you know, we'll go from there. I'm joined by two of my very good friends, Mr. Matt. Hello, Matt. What's up, bro?
Not a whole lot. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
I'm joined by my homie, also from Mississauga, where I live, Darius. What's up, bro? What's up?
What's up? Hardcore steelheader in the house. Throwback.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So basically, you know, normal ass fucking hockey podcast. So first things
More
first.
swearing, it's explicit, just so you know.
Yes, explicit.
Okay.
Explicit. First things first, fellas. Big news out of Los Angeles today, right?
That's right.
Yeah, it sure is.
Noted good player Dustin Brown is getting a statue in front of crypto.com.
Oh,
arena.
that just sounds forced, doesn't it? That's terrible. It's still Staples Center to me.
Crypto.com arena. So fellas, what do we think of Dustin Brown reportedly getting a statue?
A statue? Don't know why. You know, numbers are tiring. Everybody gets their number retired apparently nowadays, but a statue, seems like everybody in Los Angeles anyways, like Shaq, Kobe, Gretzky, Luc Robitaille, and joining them on this very exclusive list, Dustin Brown. I just don't understand it.
It's actually ridiculous. A statue. Let's talk about the jersey first. The jersey, you're going to be beside guys like Gretzky and Robitaille, right? Which, I mean, like, every team retires all these jerseys, so that's fine, right? Unless you're the Leafs before, like, 2017. They retired, like, 2 jerseys. But the statue, like, does everyone get a statue in LA? I've never been there, I can't say. But, like, Dustin Brown, was he even a top 10 player on the Stanley Cup winning teams? I don't think he was, if you go through those rosters. I don't even think he was top 10.
I'd say he was.
On a team with what, 20? You get 23 guys on those teams. I don't even know if he's top 10.
Like top 5, like top
No.
10, sure, but maybe not top 5.
Not
Dude,
top
top 5
anyway,
means
yeah.
he's like bottom half of the roster, bro. Like, I wouldn't push it that far.
I know, but you
top
got
5,
like 2 other guys. So here's the way I see it, though. Like, okay, you're giving Dustin Brown, you're retiring his jersey, and you're giving him a statue. Quick and Kopitar are not retired yet, so that means they automatically get both because they're better.
I think maybe it's a captain thing, because, like, you know, he was the captain of those teams.
He was the captain before Alex Ovechkin in Washington. Exactly.
That's a great question, bro. Great question.
Like, I don't know. It does make sense.
But I'm just looking at his counting stats here. I don't think he ever had a point per game season.
That sounds like
God.
Dustin Brown.
Yeah, no. Well, that's not what he is either, right? So
No,
I guess
still though, I'm just looking at it. Like, his most goals looks like was in 2007. Which
It was like 4th season, third
it was
season.
33 goals. His most points, I believe he eclipsed 60 points one time, and he had 60 points one time, so he had 2 60-point seasons. You know,
I mean, if you're a 60-point player, you're a pretty good player.
No, I agree with that 100%. But, like, I guess, you know, when I look at, like, jersey retirements and, like, statues, I feel like it's more respectful to their team rather than, like, hockey as a whole. Like, obviously, if you look at it in a vacuum, I guess for what he did for the Kings, maybe not necessarily all the on-ice stuff, but as, like, a captain, you know, maybe just a good room guy, as they say, you know?
First
He must have
American
been.
captain to hold the cup twice, or raise the cup twice, sorry.
Yeah.
So
That is true too. But I still don't. I think it's not the jersey as much for me. It's a statue. That is a weird one.
like there's
Not
some
everyone
there's some
gets a statue.
franchises that don't have a statue of like their respective players. Like Yzerman, sure, he's the GM and president, I think, of Detroit. He doesn't have a statue. The Oilers, only Gretzky has a statue. It's like if they gave a statue to, I don't know, Yari Curry. The congrats, Yari. You get a statue just because you tapped in a bunch of Gretzky's assists. So
I don't even think Yari Curry's better. Like, it's not even the same thing. Like, it would have to be a lower guy. It would have to be like Glenn Anderson. Like, here's your
he has his number retired.
There, okay, but So everyone does that. I don't think
Yeah,
most
okay.
people talk about either that like some of these teams you're gonna have to they're gonna start having to use like 3-digit numbers. Like
The
Montreal,
Habs, yeah.
like everyone's gonna be in the 50s in a
Yeah,
few
bro.
years.
Montreal has like 90% of like their number. They retire everyone, bro. But like the thing is too, they're so like historical. So like I can kind of see why like 90% of
different,
everyone
yeah.
there is retired because like they're actually all like very very good, right?
They've
It's
also
true.
been around for what since like 1909.
Literally over 100 years.
Yeah.
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 So like that is a little bit different.
Right now I'm just taking a look at the LA Kings 2011-2012 roster. Okay.
Yeah.
So just because let's play a game. Is this player better than Dustin Brown? Okay. 10 years ago though. So just remember like the player in that era.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So Jonathan Bernier, I think, is no. I don't know about you.
No.
I keep out the goalies, I think. Maybe.
Okay, yeah. All right.
Yeah,
All right,
it's kind of hard to
all right,
compare
quick,
the goalies.
Quick, just yes or no, no explanation needed, okay? Jeff Carter,
Yes.
Yeah.
better or worse?
Better.
Oh, better.
Better. Kyle Clifford.
Not better.
I'd say they're the same. Like play wise, they were both gritty players, except Brown wore a letter. Sorry. So
I still would think Dustin Brown is probably better.
Still,
Yeah,
he's still better, but same type of
Yeah.
player. You're right. Yeah.
To me, I feel like a lot like Dustin Brown is like more like an intangibles eye test kind of guy. I don't know if his like what he did on the ice would show up as much as it would statistically.
Yeah.
But
No,
anyway,
100%.
Yeah. Drew Doughty.
Yeah, way better.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how to pronounce this guy's name. Davis Drewisk. I think I can open it and check.
Oh, Drew Whiskey?
Trubisky.
Yeah,
maybe.
Drewiski. Davis.
Yeah.
Drewiski.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Hardly heard his name, so he was not better. So.
Yeah. No.
Colin Frazier.
Oilers legend still wasn't better.
Not better.
Simone Gagne.
Better skilled player. Yeah. Hell yeah.
I think with the Flyers, yeah, but Gagne with the Kings, he just sort of like there were other players to take over those skill positions on
That's
the
fair.
Kings.
That's true.
That's fair. Matt Green is another one.
Yeah.
Not better.
Not better.
No, right?
He was never good, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Even when he was an Oiler, he was
kinda-
never good.
Trent Hunter.
No, not better.
No.
Jack Johnson.
Not better. Although he
Dwight
didn't
King.
just win a Stanley
Not
Cup.
better.
Dwight King.
Um,
Probably
Not better.
not.
Like name wise, better, but not play wise.
no,
Anze Kopitar.
not
better,
much
yeah.
better.
Yep. Trevor Lewis.
Better.
Trevor Lewis better.
Not better. No.
You wouldn't rather.
I'd
You'd
rather
have
have
Dustin Brown on your
than
team.
Yeah, no, like
right.
2012, speaking 2012 wise, like I'd rather have Brown over
Trevor
Lewis.
Lewis easily.
I don't know. Next one though. Let's rapid fire. We'll go.
Andre, I don't know. Like I'm trying to look at the figures here.
Iguodala.
Andre, Loktu.
Oh, Loktionov?
Loktionov.
Oh yeah.
Loktionov is not how they spelled it phonetically on hockey. That's why I like it that much.
Oh,
Different
that's
guy.
any Russian name, honestly. Just a bunch of vowels and then ov.
I would say not better.
No, not better.
What about Alec Martinez?
Yes.
2012 Alec Martinez? No.
Yeah, much better. Yeah.
No?
No.
Really?
I feel like in 2014, when they won again, he was probably better.
Well, because he had the 2 series-ending goals, and that's like kind of the recency bias in everyone's minds. Like, oh,
That
well,
is
he
true.
was more clutch. But again, he was a defenseman who just took floater shots from the point.
But
And
he
2
just
of them
got-
went
Yeah,
in.
he's not an amazing.
But he joined the rush
defenseman,
one
but
time.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
he joined the rush. Yeah, double overtime.
One time and won the Stanley Cup.
Everyone else was tired on the ice.
Yeah, and then Vegas was like, yeah, here's 2 seconds in a 5x5 contract. Anyway, Willie Mitchell, 34-year-old Willie Mitchell.
Not at the time, no.
No.
Um,
I think Willie Mitchell was always just kind of there. Like when he was in Minnesota and Vancouver, he was just, dependable on the blue line, but I wouldn't say he was like,
Not
a
amazing.
household name. No.
you know
Yeah,
what's
no.
crazy? I'm gonna go through the ones that there might like Mike Richards, right? Mike Richards better at
Yeah,
that point.
He's better. Yeah.
Trying to see who else.
100%.
Justin Williams.
Yeah, better.
Game 7. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of these other guys, I don't think would do better. But something interesting I'm just seeing, like looking at this page, Dustin Brown was third in scoring that year in the regular season. He had 54 points in 82 games. Nobody was point per game for them. Kopitar had the most with 76. And Jack Johnson was sixth.
Sixth.
He was sixth with 24 points. And Drew Doughty was fifth with 12 more.
I was thinking Jack Johnson, right?
Yeah.
I was thinking that he's bad. Is that a recency thing?
No, he is shit. That's the thing.
I've never understood how. I guess because I don't get it.
Because when he was in Columbus, and then remember when he got bought out, and all that bankrupt thing with his parents, which is thing. Yeah. And then literally immediately 2 months before free agency, they're oh yeah, he's going to Pittsburgh because he's friends with Sidney for 5 years. And then people were pulling up all his numbers yo, this guy's fucking terrible, right? And then Pittsburgh bought him out. He signed with the Rangers. He was also ass. And then he ended up in Colorado, where I don't know if he was good or not. I don't think
he played most of the time. I think after Girard got hurt, he was in there. Right? But I mean, that team was so good that
you
throw me on the blue line.
It was easy to shelter him. Yeah.
It was fine.
It's because they had. I mean, even Eric Johnson isn't the best, but he looks solid there. They're just the fucking Avalanche are an anomaly. The way they're coached, their depth, everyone.
They're just different.
There's a system that was bought into. Yeah.
So in terms of statues in the NHL, got to be the weirdest, right? To wrap up this conversation.
100%.
One of the weirdest. Yeah.
I can't think of anyone else. Not weird. There's weird looking ones.
Statue was.
I mean,
weird looking.
I don't mean
there is
architecture of it. I mean,
well, I think Anaheim is a statue. Anaheim is a statue for Wild Wing, their mascot, but that's a pretty cool statue. So
that's
we can
funny.
See, that's kind of cool, but it's also not a player. It's kind of just that's a thing, right? That's not we're not honoring the mascot. It's just here's a thing you can take a picture in front of, right?
Yeah,
but
it's not this guy's amazing.
That's kind of crazy, though. You know,
that is kind of crazy, actually.
But he got a statue for going through. Remember, he was on the ATV, and he sort of botched it, and he went through the fire. Yeah, I got a statue for that.
First troubles. But yeah, definitely the weirdest, in terms of careers. What he's done.
He was never a super big points or score very obviously, but he was decent. It seemed like he had solid second line winger production, right? 60 points, not gonna go wrong with that.
That's not bad.
But I know his underlines were always decent. He was always a okay play driver. He was pretty okay defensively. So I definitely think a jersey retirement is fine. He captained your team to 2 cups, sure, give him the jersey retirement. It's like a statue. You give that to like Kopitar or Doughty or Quick,
or
one
Quick,
of those guys.
yeah.
Guys who literally changed the franchise, right?
Yeah.
And then there's probably 3 Kings fans just saying, well, no, Brown deserves this statue, but of course, hyping up their own guy, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
But as an outsider opinion, no, jersey retirement, fine. Give him a whole, 5-second speech, blah, blah, blah. Happy to be here, but don't give him a statue.
Give him the flowers and all that, but leave it at that.
That's fair. All right, switching gears here. A massive trade happened on Friday, which I think one of the biggest trades easily in NHL history.
Definitely in the cap era.
Yeah, in the salary cap era.
Yeah. Well, it was, I believe the full trade was Matthew Tkachuk for, I believe it was 4 assets. They got Jonathan Huberdeau, which I was so surprised at. Mackenzie Weegar, a first-round pick, and I think Darius can speak to this more. They also got Cole Schwint, who was very good when I watched him a little bit. So first, Darius, what were your thoughts on the overall trade?
Great for Calgary. This guy didn't want to play there anymore. And they got 2 assets that are Huberdeau and Weegar going to re-sign. I think we'll get into it later. I don't know about Huberdeau, but still you get a year out of these guys and you can flip them at the deadline if you want to, or whatever you want to do, because Calgary's not going to be as good as they were last year. Right. So, or they might be, I don't know. Who knows? Probably not though. But it's a sneaky good trade. Even Cole Schwint, nobody knows how to pronounce his name when they're covering these trades. I watched him play for 3 years, and it's a sneaky good trade. This is a good player. This is a guy who can play on your third line, right? Who can center your third line. So he's going to be in the NHL. He wasn't in the NHL in Florida. He'll be in the NHL in Calgary. So I think it's a sneaky good trade for the Flames for a guy who obviously is an amazing player, but he didn't want to be there. And he told them I'm not gonna be here. I'm gonna dip just like the other guys. So
Yeah,
it's a good trade. I like
I
it.
liked it too. What do you think, Matt?
First of all, I was happy to have Tkachuk finally leave the Pacific Division. And then second of all, I thought True Living did a fantastic job. Despite having no leverage in this opportunity, he managed to get an absolute steal for Matthew Tkachuk. To be honest with you, I thought Huberdeau had more years on his contract. I thought he got an extension a long time ago, but after finding out he's gone he enters free agency after the season, I don't think he's staying in Calgary no matter what happens. I don't think his heart lies in Calgary. It might be somewhere else because, after spending 10 years in the Florida sun, guess what? You have to move to the middle of Western Canada.
Yeah.
It won't be all that for him, I believe.
Yeah, and I think just my thoughts on the trade when I originally heard it. So like Matthew Tkachuk to Florida, I was like, okay, that's interesting. I thought it was gonna be like a futures trade, like Anton Lindell, maybe Duclair because he's like injured, so it's just money to move out. A pick, but then I was like, they have no friggin' first round picks for the next 3 years, but they don't want anyway, which is interesting. It's like, okay, they're gonna like Calgary's
2025.
Yeah, I was like,
They're
okay.
screwed.
I was like, Calgary's gonna hit the switch here. Like, Gaudreau's gone. They'll trade Tkachuk, get a shit ton of futures. And then they'll just, they'll hit the switch for now, and then be back in like 3 or 4 years, and they'll be good. But no, and then I was like, Huberdeau's involved, and I was like, Mackenzie Weegar is a very underrated aspect of this trade, I think personally.
He's a
that
great player.
That guy was like staple to Ekblad for like the past, I think 2-3 years, and he's put up amazing underlying numbers. His points have been good. He's a really good puck mover. He's really solid, and I think when you add him, because I know you're talking about earlier, like Calgary probably won't be as good. I mean, obviously they still haven't replaced Johnny Gaudreau, right? That's an irreplaceable player. Yeah. But I still like, you look at their lines, or like their forwards, they're not bad. They've still got to re-sign Mangiapane, who's just a pure fucking goal scorer. Oliver Shillington, who's really good. Like their defensive depth is insane. Because you got like Shillington, you have Rasmus Anderson, you got Weegar to that. Like they're really deep. And I know
Tanev even.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Still got a good goalie, like on paper.
Markstrom was shit in the playoffs, but like in the regular season he was really solid. So I still like Calgary coming out of this. And like you guys said, Treliving did really good for a guy who like gave like 5 teams he wanted to go to, and all like these tax-free states, so we didn't have to pay that much on income tax.
Yeah.
And he got I think he was like a top 3 point scorer in the league last year, and like a really elite number 2 defenseman. So I like this trade for Calgary. And for Florida's side, I think they got really scared when Tampa actually beat the shit out of them in the playoffs, like murdered them. It wasn't even close. So I think they want to kind of get rid of this running gun style they have, where like they're playing a lot off the rush. They were the best rush team in the league last year, right? And like they were so good. A lot of their wins came in like overtime and stuff because the ice was more open. So it's easy for them to play their game, I think, as well. And then also, I forgot that they hired Paul Maurice as their coach, which is a whole
I
ripple
forgot
into this.
about that. Wow.
Yeah, right. And I'm like, I feel like they've taken a step back in terms of depth because they lost. Well, losing Weird, like they have no other defenseman notably other than like Ekblad. They got like Montour, Forsling, I think, some other guys. Yeah, some other guys there. Like losing Weegar is a crazy ripple effect, right? And then Paul Maurice, for all we know, he's not a good coach, right?
Well, yeah, you have 1 year where the team buys into him, and then for the rest, he just kind of loses the room. You saw that with the Jets. You've pretty much seen that with every team he was with, like the Whalers, and then he's also when they moved to Carolina, Toronto. Yeah,
the Leafs. He was really good as Leafs coach for 1 year, and then all the guys were like,
and then he lost the room. Yeah,
you see it everywhere he goes. It's true. Like, but I think that's what Florida knows. They're like, hey, this is our window and it's passing quickly. Like other teams in the Atlantic, same thing, right? Like we see Boston, like they're going to be shit this year. So they know like Maurice might be good for them and then can him after a year or two.
Yeah. See, here's what I was thinking. They might be taking the Jet strategy of trying to wait out and get Barry Trotz when he becomes available. Cause of course he's not available this year. So I'm thinking, implement Maurice, give the room a veteran coach, then can him and get Barry Trotz back into the room to sort of, get him back together. So
It's true because who was coach for them in the playoffs? It was Andrew Burnett, right?
yeah, Brunette after Quenneville
They didn't
was
adjust
fired.
at all. Like they scored 3 goals against Tampa. Like that's embarrassing, and they didn't adjust like whatsoever. So that it says something, right? Like you got to get.
They barely got by Washington, despite that one going to 6. So
Washington checked out 4 years ago, let alone the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like you got to get past those guys in 4, man. TJ Oshie scoring, like come on, man. Those guys checked out like years ago. But yeah, I think it's interesting. Like Florida gets worse. It's the weirdest trade, and then Calgary. I think they should be starting. Maybe I don't know if I should use the word rebuild, but like, do you think Huberdeau is staying after this year? Because I think this trade opened up a huge possibility for Montreal.
well, I think this trade was sort of Treliving's way to, you know what, the problem, it's a year from now. We'll figure it out when we get to that point. And this year, it's just, I don't know. I wouldn't say they're on autopilot, but they're just trying to scrape by to see what they can do next summer to see if Huberdeau and Weegar will stay.
Yeah.
It's true.
And in terms of Huberdeau and Weegar, like, I mean, they did say they're open to re-signing, but
Come
everyone
on.
says that.
Yeah,
Everyone
everyone
Hawaii
says
said that.
Yeah, they're not going to be like, they're not going to go into their press conference and be like, I don't want to stay here. Like that, that's not going to work. But like, aside from that, I opened up Florida's daily face off here, right?
Mhm.
And I'm just looking at it, and it's like, Carter Verhaeghe, Alex Barkov, Matthew Tkachuk, really good line, right? And then I think you take a look at their second line, and it's like Rudolph Balchers, Sam Bennett, and Sam Reinhart. I don't know how formidable that is.
Now think about this when you look at that. They got Giroux for the playoffs last year, and they traded away Owen Tippett to make space. How dumb does that move look now?
I don't know, man. Because like I feel like Giroux was a good bet for them.
It was, but I don't know. Maybe they thought they were all in, but I didn't believe the Panthers could win the cup. Like I thought maybe 3rd round or something. But
I didn't think they were going to win the cup either.
No, but like you left yourself with not much in a lot of ways. The Tkachuk is cool, but like 2nd, 3rd line, I don't know. How does that match up against other teams?
To be fair, though, I think you put Anthony Duclair on the left wing instead of like Balsers, and it does look a little bit better. You get a little bit of trickle down effect there. Then my thing is though, I feel like they handed Sam Bennett a lot of money, right? Like after a few games, it was a pretty lucrative deal for him. And I think a lot of his production because he was playing with fucking Jonathan Huberdeau, right? Like,
yes,
I was thinking about this because I know they want to slot in Huberdeau with like Lindholm because it just makes sense. But for me, Sean Monahan hasn't been good in years, right? In a very, very long time. So maybe you put him with Huberdeau, get it going, because like, I feel like if you can get a guy like Sam Bennett going, you can definitely find something with Sean Monahan, right? And Sean Monahan makes a lot of money. I think he's the highest paid player on the Flames right now. He makes like $6.3 million or something. So I know he was injured last year. He didn't really play very good. He was healthy scratched a few times. So maybe you can get Huberdeau in there and get him going. Because I feel like Lindholm, if you give him like Mangiapane or someone else, he could probably fend for himself. But like looking back at the Panthers, I feel like their depth is like you got Gustav Forsling, Aaron Ekblad is a number one. We all know that he's very good.
Yeah.
And then you have Lucas Carlson, Radko Gudas, Mark Stahl, who they signed, and Brandon Montour as their defensive unit. I don't think that's very good.
It's not very good, and it's old.
Yeah, I also believe like Duclair's injured. He's going to be on IR till like January, maybe longer. And Patrick Hornquist is someone they have to ship out at some point. The guy makes too much money, and he's their 4th line right wing as Daily Faceoff has it. I do like the signings like Balsers. He's good. He's young. Probably has some skill. And then Colin White, I like is a really good 1-year bet as well. I think he's going to be solid for them.
That is a good signing.
Yeah, his contract in Ottawa was not good, but like he's much better than his contract like said. He's just given too much money, so he needed a new opportunity.
No, I agree. And I think with the NHL, a lot your value is based on how much money you make, right? There's no in between. So exactly. I think Colin White is solid. He'll look good in the 3rd line with Florida. And I think Florida's still gonna make the playoffs. Although it's strong with like Ottawa getting better. Boston's not gonna be good until like December because everyone's fucking injured.
Boston will be out of the playoffs by the time their guys come back. Like they won't be able to make up that ground. We saw it with the Islanders, right? Like I'm writing off Boston this year, but the rest of the division's really good. And I'm not writing off Boston because, screw them, but also that. But to go back to Florida, you got to hope that like Carter Verhaeghe, for example, like lights it up next year too. He can't take a step back, right?
No.
Like you got to hope your guys that showed they belong last year take steps forward.
Yeah, no,
Otherwise you're screwed.
it's crazy too because I don't know what they're gonna do with Sergei Bobrovsky.
Yeah, 10 million for 4 more years. That's an
gotta
anchor of a contract.
They're sitting on that.
Like
not
they're so
getting
lucky. They're so lucky they have Spencer Knight. Otherwise,
right.
like after Bobrovsky, like you have to like their backup goalie take here. You get $5. That's all you're getting. but with Knight, they just kind of have to figure out after the season because this is the last year of his entry level contract. So
Yeah, right. I just think Bobrovsky. That's not a movable contract.
no, it's absolutely not unless you retain a massive amount of it.
It's a no move too.
Yeah.
He has a no move.
It is a no move.
Oh, he does?
Right?
Yeah, he has no move.
Wow.
And nobody's. It's $10 million. Nobody's even if he was like, trade me anywhere. Who's gonna take that?
That's an Arizona deal. Like very obviously, those guys just take all the bad contracts. But I don't even think Arizona's touching that. Like
after this year, I would talk to him and I'd be like, "Listen, Bob, you ever been to college?"
I was gonna say like I'm just curious. Like, what's the buyout on that? I'd be curious what the buyout on that contract is.
I'll see if I can get it for you, but keep going.
I think you could do it. Like Cat Friendly has that.
I'm trying it.
But
yeah, I'm on it right now as well too. See, here's the thing: it's that bad of contract where it's just the setting is not available.
I don't think it's buyout proof, but I think you're looking at like
a lot,
$5 million a year or something. It's stupid, or 6 maybe.
Terrible contract to be anchored with. But Florida, I think they'll still be really sick next year. Paul Maurice, I'm not a fan of at all. Like I think
I got the answer for you. Sorry to cut you off. But before we move on. So if you were to buy out Bob this year, his cap hit would be 1.75 for until 2030.
Low key.
That's not even that bad.
That's not that bad.
That's really not that bad. Although I think you have to look at sitting on him for a year or two, then you move him and whoever you move him to buys him out.
See, here's the thing. In 2 years, though, he's going to be 35 years old, and 35 years old.
That's bioproof, right?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Then it moves to a 35-plus contract, so we can't buy him out.
So you're looking at this year.
Yeah.
So
maybe
next summer.
Got to make a decision sometime soon.
I assume the plan is give Spencer Knight more run this year, right? See how he is, and then deal with that after. Because Spencer Knight's going to be good.
He's a great goalie. You just got to play him.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. But yeah, I think Florida's got some guys. I like their depth is solid, right? Of course, I think their forward depth still looks okay because they basically just swapped Huberdeau for Tkachuk, which is whatever. But their defense, I don't like it at all. I think they need to do something there, and they got to move out the Patrick Hornquist money because I believe they're over the cap right now. And you're allowed to be 10% over during the offseason, which is
he also has a no move, so he would have to be.
Oh, he does?
Yeah.
Okay. Damn. All right.
You're not wrong. They got to move it.
Yeah. No.
He has a no move, so you got to figure something out.
And that's going to be real. That's going to be real poor this year. Spencer Knight, plays lights out, and guess what? You're giving a backup goalie $10 million, so that just looks awful in hindsight.
That's what looked terrible last year in the playoffs because he was the backup, and it was like,
what was Dale Talon thinking? It's like, Russian goalie, he's on the market. Let's throw money at him just to get the Rangers off our back, because I think the Rangers were in that race for Bobrovsky as well.
Could you imagine?
That would have been awful. Dale Talon, by the way.
Hats off to that man.
I'll leave it at that.
I mean, Bill Zito's been decent for them.
Hope you're enjoying retirement.
I feel like this last offseason was kind of interesting. I do like Matthew Tkachuk in Florida, though. Like, if we're looking at Matthew Tkachuk in a vacuum in Florida or like on the Florida Panthers, I think he brings a new element to them of sort of like the unicorn of like a power forward archetype. Like, there's not too many pure power forwards that are good in the league anymore. Like, all the power forwards that were good like 5 years ago suck now or are
like
retired.
Lucic,
Wayne Simmons,
just a brick on skates. That guy is.
Like, I feel like Wayne Simmons, Lucic, JVR, all these like power forward archetype type players. Aside from Joe Pavelski, who's like an ageless wonder.
He's found a thing though. He's found
Exactly.
something that he's good at his age, right? But these guys like Lucic, he's not good at anything. Like, yeah.
No.
So it depends, right? But you're right. Like even Tom Wilson, he's on the way out too. Like what he's useful at is not being utilized anymore. Or at least
it also gets him suspended too. So.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, yeah, I guess he's a different case.
Didn't he also have like a very, very, very tough injury just now?
I think he
Yeah,
had
it wasn't
surgery, didn't he?
Yeah, something like that. He wasn't playing in the playoffs, so yeah, I don't know. He's being what he is being phased out. Like the really good ones, it's not being phased out the position per se, but like all the good ones we've seen have been leaving the league. So he's like a hot commodity.
Exactly.
Team. Like it's a good move in that way.
And to be honest, I like the contract too, like 9.5 for 8 years. The guy just came off an 104-point season.
He's 24.
That's
24.
a great.
Like,
that's a
the
great
contract's
contract.
done when he's like 30, 32 or 33, right? It's perfect. And I think one of the things was Zito didn't want it. Huberdeau's like what 28, 29 now.
Around there. Yeah.
And like he didn't want to give Huberdeau an 8-year double-digit extension when it's done. He'll be almost like 40, right? It's not worth it. So I think that's good asset management in that part. I just don't understand trading Uyghur personally. I don't think they would have been able to fit them all under the cap, but like Mackenzie Uyghur was huge for them, and I think they're gonna get like demolished defensively now.
Yeah, no, they're in trouble. I hope they're not done because it's still like July, right? They could just not be done, but like it doesn't look good on paper.
Yeah. No,
also,
I don't know.
Also got to think too that the Panthers brought in Tkachuk to sort of protect, well, not the star players, but he's got the experience in the Battle of Alberta, right? And if you get into the nitty gritty with the Battle of Florida, he brings that experience of knowing what to do in a rivalry,
That's right.
and what to expect. Just the overall experience with that, facing Edmonton, and now he's going to face Tampa. So in the playoffs, that could help him.
Yeah, no, I get that 100%. But speaking
and they're going to end up playing Tampa again.
Yeah.
Sorry, but continue.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of the Battle of Alberta, let's switch gears here. I feel like we kind of extended ourselves in the Tkachuk talk. So the Edmonton Oilers, literally just before we started recording, they extended Jesse Pujärvi for $3 million 1 year, avoid arbitration, which is cool. I still don't think they're going to keep him. I think this is just a get the signing so he's at least cost controlled for this year. It's easy for a team to pick up the trade. But Matt, as an Oilers fan, what do you think of the contract and where do you think it goes?
For a player like him, it's a little underpaid. I wouldn't give him a whole lot more than maybe 3.5. But it's the analytics that sort of solidify him in my eyes because he knows what to do away from the puck. He knows how to pressure the players. It's just the offensive abilities that just haven't been up to snuff yet. Because you could see him with the puck on his stick. I would think he hesitates a little bit too much, especially playing with like Connor or Hyman or Kane. Well, I don't really think he played with Kane that much, but he's a good player. But like you said, they just got the signing over with. That way Holland could find a trade partner much quicker before the Yamamoto arbitration on August 11th. I want to say it was one of the later arbitration dates.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I'm a huge Jesse Pujärvi fan. I think he's really good. I genuinely just think the Oilers should just keep him, but it looks like that relationship has been sour for a while. It looked like it was rekindled for a little bit, but now with the whole contract thing, it seems like it's time for both parties just to go in separate directions. Like you said about his analytics, like it seems like he's a guy that I know a lot of people were comparing him to the current state of Valeri Nichushkin, of like always a guy who was good analytically, but you just watched him and you were like, this guy like just can't figure it out when the puck is on his stick. And then he figured it out. Look, he just got paid like a lucrative contract, right? And then I feel like Pujärvi could be that guy if you put him in the right spot. And I think even if like he doesn't turn into the super like Bound and Shushkin type guy, I don't think he's a solid middle six player. Probably more in the second line type area. I would think when he like develops a little more. And I think he's a good get for any team at this point. Like who doesn't want like
he's a fantastic get.
To me, he screams like a guy who's ready to go off if he got traded. Like a new scenery or whatever, new team, new system. Like he screams like he would reach his potential, right?
Yeah, that was one of
flashes.
Yeah, that was one of Holland's first projects when he became GM of the Oilers, was to sort of rekindle the relationship. Because in the summer of 2019, Pujärvi just went back to Finland, tore it up there, showed the Oilers well. I don't really feel like coming back, but Holland somehow convinced him to come back, and look what he's done so far, right? So just playing the defensive gritty style hockey that's been missing from the Oilers in quite some time. It's a breath of fresh air, and if we trade him, I'll miss him. I'll miss him a lot.
No, that's fair because I also was like, I feel like for like so many years, people have been like, okay, Connor McDavid can bring a shitty team to the playoffs very easily, right? You don't really need too much. And then they finally, it seemed like the Oilers, I still feel like it's a little bit finicky, their depth and their like defensive depth. Like, I still think a lot of like their playoffs, which don't get me wrong, was really like, it was amazing. Was a lot of like, I mean, obviously it's obviously going to be on McDavid, but I feel like a lot of times like their bottom six wasn't as good when I was like watching. And I think using Alec Puyarvi would be awesome for them. And like, I don't understand why you would trade a guy when all McDavid really needs is just a tiny bit of secondary scoring, because he's gonna do most of it on his own. Maybe get like PRV and like you short up the third line. I know they signed Hyman last year. Ryan McLeod's been decent for them. They have like Yamamoto's cool too, and they signed Evander Kane. So that's some more depth. But I don't understand, like they could just keep him. But I guess the relationship, I don't know how it's soured after Ken Holland like fixed it.
It has though. It's
I'm
evident.
curious
Right?
how. Yeah.
Although I think the Oilers, so hear me out. The Oilers could use some secondary scoring. Like obviously the relationship looks like he's on the way out. The Oilers could use some secondary scoring. They could use some defense too. I think their defense is better than it was, but they could use some defense. So I'm thinking with Ken Holland's track record, recently, I think Hall and Kerfoot would look great in Oilers jerseys. And Puljujarvi on the Leafs.
Listen.
That's a hot take. That is one hot take, sir.
It's not because
here's the thing though. I do think the Oilers and Leafs could swing a deal with something just based on what each team needs.
Yeah.
And look. I know I like on Twitter especially, like I shit on Justin Hall and Alex Kerfoot a lot, but like inherently, I don't think they're actually like bad players.
No.
I just think they need to be on a different team. And to be honest, like Kerfoot on the Oilers, I think would be a very, very good fit. He's super fast. He's solid defensively. Plays on every line. He can play center and wing, so it's decent for them. But Cole would be okay. But I feel like the Oilers have a pretty big logjam on defense, despite not having a lot of good players back there.
It's more so just the problem of having too many rookies and not enough vets. Like you lose Keith. You got Nurse, like down the left side off the top of my head, you got Nurse, Kulak, which by the way, one of the best signings of free agency.
Great signing.
Broberg, and then in the pipeline we have Marcus Niemelainen, who I love. I don't remember the last Oiler defenseman who stood up people at the blue line and just hit. Whereas, Oilers of the past would just let the guy right by him and have a nice day, sir. So yeah, it's just too many young defensemen, which not a problem to have, but you need that experience for in the playoffs where you don't want them to get exposed. And that's where our biggest problem lied, because on the left side in the playoffs, you had Nurse who had torn hip flexors. You had old man Keith who just couldn't keep up with the play anymore. And then that's when you relied on Brett Kulak to do everything defensively when he was on the ice.
That's fair. And what their right side right now is Bouchard, Barry, Ceci.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
That's rough.
It's Ceci and Bouchard are fine. It's Barry, especially with his contract too. I'd like to see it moved along with Warren Fogle to sort of create that wiggle room when it comes to signing one or two more guys before the season starts. Because with the way I look at it right now, Ken Holland doesn't like to start the season with a rookie on the blue line. So I think we'll sign somebody to a PTO, someone like Chris Russell, bring him back. I saw Michael Kempney was signed by Seattle. I would have liked him, but he's got the injury. He's got the injury history.
Yeah.
May I suggest PK Subban?
PK. Oh yeah. See, I was looking at PK Subban, but no.
No,
he's not good anymore.
I feel like he's probably asking for a little too much.
No, for sure.
Money. That's why he's not signed yet, because I feel like if he was to sign at 1.5 even, which is still a little bit much, maybe, like a team would take him. Like a team would take him, right? Like
the problem is with him is like he literally can't play how he used to play because his back is so finished, right?
Probably from all his Instagram workouts, but
but it's
just
like
go hard. Like
it's like his back is gone, and a lot of his play now is his slap shot from the point, and I feel like that's being phased out of the league, right? Like people realize that it's kind of like how in the NBA people realize, we should shoot more threes because 3 is greater than 2. It's pretty fucking obvious. And in the NHL, people realize, we should take more shots that are closer to the net because they're probably going to go in more than a rampant shot from the point. So like, that's one reason I'm a big fan of like Evan Bouchard, for example, because like he's not just winding up and wiring it, right? He's like, if he shoots, he's waiting for it and just toss, like throwing it on the goalie with like a little wrist shot floater and trying to like put it through the thread, which I think as a defenseman that's super big skill. It's such a contrast from Tyson Barrie, right? Who like will have like McDavid and Draisaitl on his flanks, right? And like even in Toronto, he would have like Mitch Marner and Austin Matthews on his flanks, and he takes a slap shot. I'm like, bro, what the fuck are you doing? Give it to the goal scorers.
He wouldn't even look. Like I was watching the playoffs last year and I was getting like non-flashbacks of like when he was on the Leafs, and I'm like, this guy he literally doesn't look, he just shoots.
Yeah, exactly.
Like he's really bad for that. Like
with Bouchard on the power play, in the very limited time that he was on there, I would see the opponent actually respect his shot and actually go up to block it instead of just staying in the high slot. Whereas Barrie, they just go up to him and then Barrie would give him the puck. So with Bouchard on the main power play, I think that would open up a lot more options with McDavid and Draisaitl, with the penalty killers sort of flanking towards Bouchard. And so it'd be a brand new power play without, changing it up a whole lot. It's just replacing who's playing that point.
Right.
That's fair.
I think there's a few options if you look at the Oilers, like if they don't want to start the season with a rookie, like you got Calvin DeHaan even. Maybe he might want too much, but I think he's a free agent as well. I don't know. I think they have a few options if they want, but it's still, I think the Oilers are better this year than
much better
than they were last year. Like this is going to be a good team to watch. So that's exciting.
I don't remember the last time I went into a season where I had full confidence in not just the starting goaltender, but the tandem itself. Like in prior years.
I forgot about that. I forgot about Jack Campbell.
Campbell and Stuart Skinner too. Skinner, he played less than 15 games last season, but he's got the potential because he's marinating down in Bakersfield because Holland didn't really want to rush him up because that's what's happened before in the past. Guys like Dubnyk, Jeff Delorier, and other goaltenders that have passed through the system. That list is long. Laurent Brossoit, where I don't know why he played less than 10 games in that season. We went to the playoffs because Talbot was just ridden so hard. And it's just...
Brossoit's good, too.
It showed. Brossoit, when I watched him, who was it, with Vegas? I didn't watch him much with the Jets, but with Vegas, he was solid.
Yeah. Another thing is, with Jack Campbell, I feel like we can speak to that a little bit more. He's kind of streaky, I feel like, and he's also like very, very hard on himself. Like in post-game pressers where like when we'll lose, he'll like blame everything on him. And, like, to be honest, don't get me wrong, he's solid. He's not like in November, he was like a 930, which was insane. Yeah. And then like every other month he was like a sub 905 goalie. So he's solid. Like I feel like for the Oilers, he'll be good. He'll just be like a solid goalie. Definitely not the fucking emotional roller coaster that like Mike Smith and Nico
that thrill ride has no seats left. It's the highs and lows of Mike Smith. If you see him leave that crease, close your eyes. So.
I think the stability will be good for the Oilers. Like if you watch him in the playoffs, if you think the Leafs lost because of Campbell, like you've lost all your brain cells, right?
The Leafs, I feel like I couldn't really point out a reason why the Leafs lost. Just because Tampa, right? They're just good.
Bro, they're cursed. That's all it is, really.
But yeah, even Vasilevsky was shit that series, and we still lost. That's what pisses me off the most. He was so bad that series, and we still lost.
Oh, we can get into that later. But
just looking at the defensive free agents that are left, you got Subban, as we talked about. Like Calvin DeHaan, you said not bad. I feel like Ryan Murray on like a league min deal would be okay over there.
Maybe, yeah.
He's injury prone. When he plays, he's solid. Like he's solid. Nothing special. You got just trying to see. There's not really too many people left.
Matt mentioned Chris Russell too, which could be okay. I think that's like all right to have as a depth guy. Like he's not going to want all this money, right? So that could be a decent
One
depth
guy-
option too.
There also runs the risk of Chris Russell too, because he has the record for, most shot blocks in NHL history, but that means he doesn't have the puck. So with Chris Russell in your defensive zone, don't expect him to do much. So
I think it's
One
more
thing-
just for depth. Like, but
Yeah.
sorry, go on, Nick. Yeah.
I was gonna say I'm looking at it now. I don't know if Anton Strawman retired. But just looking at him, right defenseman, 35 years old. You get that experience. He played 74 games last year I think he was on Arizona, right? And the guy averaged 21 minutes a night. Like that's like first pairing minutes,
He was on Arizona.
wasn't he?
I thought he was on Florida, but maybe he got traded. You
I
might be
think
right.
Florida traded him.
You might be
But
right.
listen, let's say the Oilers pick him up, give him like, I don't know, 12 minutes a night, right? That couldn't be that bad. And he's playing way too much. Looking here, like that guy should not be playing as much as John Klingberg.
No.
What the fuck?
yeah,
No.
in a perfect world, John Klingberg on a team-friendly deal, I'd love him.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Obviously,
Yeah, I'm
obviously,
sure you
that
would. I'm
will
sure
not
you would.
happen.
I'm sure you would. I'm sure you would.
Any
Yeah,
fan,
man, can
says
dream,
any
can he?
fan base.
A man can dream. Come on.
That's right.
But yeah,
Uh,
just to wrap up the conversation here, I think the Oilers are going to be solid. They're going to be. I mean, Connor McDavid on Draisaitl, you're always going to do something with them every year, so that's good. Puyarvi, I'm interested to see what the return is for him. In addition to what the Yamamoto signing will be. Matt, just to finish this, did you
Yes.
want Warren Fogle to be traded?
Well, when he was traded for Ethan Bear, see, I loved Ethan Bear when he was an Oiler, and I didn't really want to see him traded. Like Fogle, it's the Hall Larson situation all over again. Like Larson, he got a bad rap because you were the guy that was traded for Taylor Hall. But for the amount of money that he plays and for the role that he has, it's just not enough. It's Colin White in Ottawa. Like he's a very good player, but that money it needs to sort of be parallel to how he plays and what kind of role he has. So
That's fair.
yeah,
He's
you
a
just
cap
need
casualty, right? At the end of the day. Okay. That's fair.
just need Nurse to play up to his contract.
I don't know that's gonna
Nurse
happen.
was also hurt, right?
Yeah,
I feel like a
the
lot of
hip
people are
flexor,
like, Nurse
yeah.
sucks, like through the whole
I don't
playoffs.
think
And
he
he's like, I
sucks.
don't have a hip.
No, I don't think he sucks at all. I don't think he's ever going to be worth his contract.
No.
Personally,
Sure,
not many
sure.
people are. Not many people are going to be worth that much. Like Cale Makar is already worth more than his like $9 million cap hit as it stands.
There's maybe 3 or 4 guys that
yeah,
are worth more than their actual contracts. The rest, you're like, oh, they're not even playing up to standard or whatever. But it's
Yeah.
like you're always going to get overpaid like that, right?
Yeah.
So it's literally just Matthews, McDavid, McCarr. That might be it. That are like
Maybe
overplaying their
Draisaitl.
contract. Maybe
I'm thinking of
Draisaitl too.
I'm thinking of like the new like large massive contracts. I guess Draisaitl was kind of like before because
I guess,
Draisaitl
yeah.
went for being overpaid, to like
A
underrated.
steal.
Underrated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Underrated for his contract. So like his contract's really nice too. But shifting gears, let's move to another Canadian team. To me, the Leafs have kind of had a polarizing offseason with their goalie situation. They both goalies are gone. Jack Campbell, Edmonton. Peter Mrazek went to Chicago. And they got Matt Murray in a trade from the Senators. I think he makes $4.8 million because they retained like 33% or whatever it was.
I think like
and
25 or something like that.
25. Something stupid. And then they got Ilya Samsonov for 1.8, which to me is a solid contract. He's a solid bargain deal. I don't mind that. They lost Mikheyev. They lost Colin Blackwell, who was solid. I like Blackwell here.
Yeah.
Mikheyev,
They lost Spezza.
he retired. And then they got Kalle Yarncroke, Adam Gaudette, and a couple of like Nicholas Aube-Kubel. So, Darius, what do you think so far about Dubas's offseason?
I think the one thing, so everyone's like, Dubas sucks, fire Dubas, right? That's the new thing, right? And that's so easy to say. I think that the thing that really hurt the Leafs the most was COVID, to be honest, because these contracts, if COVID never happened and the cap kept going up as projected, there would be no problem. Like there would be no problems. And everything would look fine. They would have room for all these guys. What Dubas has done with the little cap room he has, I think is actually impressive. People just don't see it because other teams like Colorado are winning the cup, right? With McKinnon on 6 point whatever cap hit, like so stupid. Like that guy's gonna make $12 million in a year or whatever. So I think what he's done with the cap is actually kind of impressive. And the way he's rebuilt the team through the summer already is really nice. Like I think Calle Jarnkrok is a good signing. Like that's a really good signing. You got David Kemp still, who's like such an underrated player. Like that's a really good player for the Leafs. And then with the goaltending, you get Samsonov, who I think, is a great backup bet to Matt Murray. Like if Matt Murray's like injured or he's just not who he was like skill wise anymore, you have Samsonov. Like that's a good thing they did there instead of like Eric Shalgren, who like I watched him. Rebound control is not theirs yet. Like he's not.
He needs a couple more years in the AHL.
Yeah. Great goalie. Like I think it's definitely there. And usually goalies, they peak like 27, 28, whatever. We saw with Jack Campbell, he's just not there yet. So I think he's taking a bet for sure in the starting goalie position. But I think what he did with the backup position is really underrated. Not enough people are talking about it. And he's slowly rebuilding the third and fourth line. And we saw it in the Tampa series. He went out and got all these guys that your uncle are telling you to get, right? Like the Kyle Cliffords and all these guys. And they didn't even use them in the playoffs because the refs switched up. So he's like, all right, we're going to build the team this way then. And he's going all in, and I respect it. So we'll see how the season goes.
That's fair. Matt, I'm curious as to your opinion as like an outside fan looking in. How do you think the goalies especially are working? Because I know a lot of like non-Leafs fans are like, that's stupid. Like this doesn't make any sense.
Well, this season I'm going to call it the backs against the wall season, because I think I wouldn't call that a last ditch effort from Dubas, but I think he feels the seat getting hot. And so he was like, okay, I'll take a risk on this. And if it doesn't work out, then we're not too sure where to go from this. Because you can go back to the drawing board so many times, right? Before it just starts getting over and over and very repetitive. But it's nice that they didn't overpay on guys like Mikheyev. Mikheyev told Dubas what he wanted, and Dubas just kind of laughed him out of the room, and then Mikheyev went to Vancouver, right? So, yeah, it'll be... I think I say this before every Leafs season, but it'll be very interesting to see how much differently it can get prior to the last. Yeah,
that's fair. I think a lot of people, me personally, I'm not a big fan of the forward depth right now. When I look at it from top to bottom, of course, when you run the four players of John Tavares, William Nylander, Austin Matthews, and Mitch Marner out there, you're going to have a good chance of winning every night, like similar to the Oilers with McDavid and Draisaitl, right? I like Michael Bunting with them. He meshed perfectly. He makes almost no money. But then I feel like you look after like those four and Bunting, and you get to like Alex Kerfoot, who's like not mesmerizing at all.
Engvall,
who's cool.
They still got to get rid of somebody too.
They got to trade
Kerfoot
over
the cap. Yeah, they really have to.
Yeah. Then you look at they brought back Dennis Malgin, who I'm a little bit excited for, just because he tore up the Swiss League. Like I'm interested to see how he'll play, because he's already got a lot of NHL experience. I think he has over 200 games, which is good.
Very underrated in that way. Yeah.
So I don't mind that at all. Like people, I don't know why people get mad when you sign a player for free. Like people on Twitter are like, oh, why the fuck would they do this? It's like, bro, he makes league min and it's free. He didn't pay anything to get him. And he's a bottom six. It's just another guy to fight for a spot.
It's the other thing too with the Dubas, like getting the Greyhounds thing, which is, I mean, it is getting a little ridiculous.
It's funny.
But like
it's funny.
when you look, it is funny. But when you look at the Matt Murray thing, it's like, what other goalie were you gonna get? John Gibson? He said he didn't want to come. So like, who are you gonna get? Right.
Fleury re-signed in Minnesota, right?
Right.
And
so
Husso was gone before free agency started.
Yep.
I know the Leafs really wanted him, but no, like the wall was running dry. You know what I mean? So I agree with you from that standpoint for sure.
You're taking a chance on a guy that they know. I think that's not a huge thing to. I mean, the Michael Bunting thing, they took a chance on him too. Like he turned out great, but it's not like they gave him all this money or something. Like I think it's a little overplayed. It's a little ridiculous because there's a lot of Greyhounds. Like even Kyle Clifford I'm pretty sure was a former.
I think
Greyhound.
Clifford and Jarnkrok are the connection, because when Dubas was an agent, they were his clients.
That's right.
It's not a Greyhounds thing. But like,
okay.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, like, when I look at the bottom six, and like, whenever I see us in the playoffs, and like, for example, against Tampa, the bottom six, we need like a guy there who can like, create his own chances or score. Like, it doesn't have to be like a tip top. Like you're not gonna find many third liners who score 30 goals, right?
No,
We can get like a 20 goal guy. I think McCabe was out in the regular season, but he went on a shooting bender in the playoffs. He scored like I think it was an empty net goal, right? It's not very.
He had like and it was in the same game. Yeah, like two,
Exactly.
and they were in the same game. Yeah,
exactly. And it's like I'm like you need like look. I think Nick Robertson is a huge X factor. I think Matthew Nyes is a huge X factor, but he's not coming over till April, right? Or March. Nick Robertson, if he can be that guy in the third line, maybe in the second line, and move Kerfoot down if we don't trade him, I like that a lot more. I think the depth looks a lot better. We also have some young guys like an Alex Steves. I think injecting some youth into the bottom six would be more helpful than having these like older guys who don't really score anymore. I think they're not really that old.
I think the problem was like they kept getting older guys because all the young guys they brought up, like Robertson, like he scored 1 goal or whatever, but they could see like he can't really hang, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's the main problem. Like these young guys got to come to camp and be like put on a show, because the Leafs got to know that they can call these guys up and be confident in them, because I saw nothing out of the young guys last year.
Yeah.
Like not much.
I'm a big fan of like Dobby Kubel signing. I think it's gonna be solid for us as an everyday player.
Yes.
Adam Gaudette is a wild card to me because he hasn't really been great in the NHL, but he's been good everywhere else he's played. So he's another skill guy, and like there's so many weird like I feel like skilled like AHL NHL tweeners that absolutely tear up the AHL, like and then they come to the NHL, and because they're not given that AHL 20-minute ice time, they suck, right?
Right.
Oh,
Yeah,
like Tyler Benson, for example.
Tyler Benson for sure,
Yep.
right?
Like he's probably like the main example, because like watching with the Condors, he was the most noticeable player on the ice, but call him up and it's like, well, you stuck him with Cassian and Archibald. He's not going to do much with that at all.
Exactly.
So it's just they need the right environment to succeed. And if you just, call them up and say, hey, well, you're getting less than 4 minutes time on ice tonight and you're with like 2 grinders, well, that's just not going to do anything for them, and they won't go into the game expecting anything big. And when you're not expecting anything big, then that's when your effort drops.
Yeah, no, it's 100%. It's like they want them to succeed in this role, like a top 6 role, but the top 6 role doesn't exist for them on the team. So they get no ice time, they get no power play time, they get no penalty kill time, right? So they're just like playing 7 minutes of even strike time with like Wayne Simmons and Kyle Clifford, right? And obviously, like we had Abruz Hazy last year who came over from college. He's supposed to be like a decent, I think tops out like a bottom 6 guy. And like whenever I was watching him, I'm like he's solid. I feel like he's a high IQ player for sure. But I'm not really like getting much out. And the Leafs, when you're in a cap crunch and you want to contend, these young guys need to make an impact.
And it also, I was going to say this earlier, but with Matt Murray, sure, at the start, it might not seem like a trailblazing move, but did you see those Senators teams he played behind? Like those are terrible. So it does a lot for goalies' confidence to see who's in front of them, know that, they're somewhat competent, and that does a lot for a goalie.
Yeah.
That's one thing I think a lot of people have lost. Like he went from Pittsburgh to Ottawa, right? Pretty sure, like straight. Every single Sens team he played on was shit, like awful. And he went from the Pittsburgh Penguins to like shit, like bottom of the basement, like not even like middle, not even middle ground where you miss the playoffs, like 9th place or whatever. They're like shit, like top 5 pick overall territory. So like, what do you think that does to a goalie, right? Like you got to give that guy a chance again on a good team, right?
Ottawa still has no defenseman, so we'll see how that goes.
And the Leafs last year, sorry to cut you off, broke their franchise record for wins despite their goaltending.
So they had terrible goaltending all year.
The whole year, Jack Campbell wasn't even that good. So everyone cries because of something new, and we'll have to see what happens. But I think give the guy a shot, and Samsonov's a good 1A, 1B type guy. So
yeah, I agree.
But he's just there to sort of take the pressure off of Murray.
He's just the netting.
I think the whole point of Samsonov is to
a more reliable backup. Yeah,
a reliable backup and some competition. Because I know Samsonov says he really, really wants to start a job. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah,
Matt Murray's not the starter right now.
Exactly.
It's whoever plays best, man. Like, so look at Mrazek. He could have taken over starter when Campbell was hurt for a little bit.
Like just
But
ask.
that was a terrible experiment.
Yeah. So let's just do a couple more things here before we wrap. Quickly, who do you guys have for your winners and losers of the offseason so far?
The losers for sure. It's not even a competition. It's the Philadelphia Flyers for missing out on Johnny Gaudreau.
Yeah, that's
Like
fair.
it's not close. But I think just not a total loser, but Yzerman had such a good thing going, and then he signs Ben Sherratt. I have no idea what he was thinking at all with that one.
I don't get that one either, because you brought in David Perron on a really, really term-friendly.
An excellent contract. Yeah.
Term-friendly. Because David Perron was older, I thought he was going to get more term, but you brought him on a term-friendly deal. The cap is very friendly. The Oilers, sorry, the fucking Red Wings. I don't know why I said Oilers. The Red Wings just, they needed players. So I like Perron. They got Billy Husso in net because Nedeljkovic was holy bad when I was watching him. They brought in some more players. I'm trying to remember who. I don't remember. It leaves me this time, but yeah, Yzerman had a very good.
Andrew Kopp. Did you mention Andrew Kopp?
Yeah, Andrew Kopp. That's who I was trying to remember.
Yes.
Like, he's solid for them too. But yeah, Yzerman was good, and I agree with you, Matt. Like, the fucking Ben Sherratt signing is insanely bad. What was it? 4 by 4.75? That guy's terrible.
I think so. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was the same as the Goodbranson signing, Columbus, give or take. But
Yeah.
those two signings, just brutal. And then Columbus, they had such a good start to free agency. And then, I'm sorry, this is bold take, but keeping Laine over Oliver Bjorkstrand is a choice. That's all I'm going to say about it.
To me, I feel like you trade someone else before you trade Bjorkstrand, right? You trade fucking Boone Jenner, bro. I don't care. Find someone else to trade instead of Oliver. They gave him away. It's like how Vegas literally gave away Max Pacioretty. They gave away.
Vegas did that to him themselves.
Yeah.
That's a clown show to begin with.
They literally gave him away.
Bjorkstrand is really, really good. I think he's going to be like, he tops out to me at like a 75, 70 point guy. He's going to get you 25, 30 goals every year. And for Seattle, they've made some low-key good moves as well after their fucking absolutely horrid expansion draft that they did. But yeah, I like Seattle. Definitely, they're getting some help there with Bjorkstrand. But yeah, it's so weird because like they got Johnny Gaudreau, which is easily the best signing of the offseason. They re-signed Laine, which I don't mind. I think Laine and Gaudreau could work very, very well together. Good Branson for a 4x4 was fucking weird. Then you trade Bjorkstrand for nothing. So I'm very curious as to where Jarmo sees this team next year. I don't think he sees them as a playoff team. I think he sees them as like a middle of the pack team. And I feel like in a year where like Connor Bedard and Mishkov are available, you don't want to be a middle of the pack team. So I'm just interested because I don't think Columbus is, they're a winner because of Gaudreau, but I don't think they're like a winner like in total. Just in a cumulative of all the moves they made.
Yeah, I think Detroit might be my losers.
Really?
I just don't want to say Philly because it's so obvious, but I think it's Detroit because I saw this vision where Detroit could have like signed some of these guys and then flipped them at the deadline, right? And then you have your young guys coming up, so you get your more assets and you look towards next year because I feel like they won't be that great again next year, right?
Husso was a gamble.
Right. He could be shit. You never know, right? So you have to wait and see. And I feel like they had an opportunity to sign some guys and like to flip them at the deadline to teams that will make it. And I feel like they just signed like you were saying, Sherratt is like so puzzling. Like this guy makes your team worse. You gave him almost $5 million and it's until 2027. That's an anchor. Like that is so bad. And then I think besides the Laine thing, like keeping Laine over Bjorkstrand, I like what Columbus did. I'm going to be honest. I want to elaborate further.
Yeah, one thing I feel like, you know what, an underratedly bad offseason? The fucking Islanders. They didn't do shit.
They haven't done
They
shit.
haven't done anything. And I
But
think
here's
this
the
is
thing.
this is lose like 40 chess. It's like by not doing a deal, I've done a deal. And he's trying to puzzle everyone's minds, and somehow it's working because the spotlight hasn't been on the Islanders as much as I would have liked to have been.
Yeah, well,
Sorry. Remember that
Oh.
thing that was like a potato versus the Vancouver Canucks
Yeah.
off-season moves, and the potato won? I feel like Lou is like doing nothing sometimes is better than signing all these guys. And I feel like it could be still he's waiting out for maybe Kadri, and maybe he gets Kadri and he's like, that's my move.
I mean, Thomas Drance did say that deal might be in like because fucking Lou just doesn't announce signings for some
Shit.
reason,
Yeah.
so.
No, until it's
So,
like
which is whatever. So honestly, like I don't really feel the need to talk about like the Kadri or Klingberg stuff. I feel like that horse has been pretty beat. Like,
it won't happen
like,
until it happens at this point,
yeah,
right? Like
yeah,
we know where
exactly.
it is.
Exactly.
Yeah, both players sort of overvalue themselves compared to what GMs are wanting to pay them.
Exactly.
I still think John Klingberg is going to be very good if he's like the number one offensive defenseman on a team. I don't think he's a number one defenseman, but if you give him like the first pair with a solid defensive partner, and then but give him the first power play, because I feel like Heiskanen like just took that role because he became so good. So I think he'd be a very good fit somewhere else. And then for our last segment here, let's get to what do you guys think are the absolute worst contracts in the NHL? Because Dom Lucian of The Athletic put out an article yesterday, which was pretty good. But if you guys were personally to say, if you look at all the contracts in the league, what's the worst one?
Now, is this contracts that were just signed or just any contract?
Honestly, you know what? Let's do worst contract of the offseason and then and then also do your worst one currently that like exists.
Okay, I'll go first, I guess, unless Matt's ready. But I think of the offseason, it's either Eric Gabranson or Ben Sherratt. There's just so much money for so long. I can't decide which one's worse. It might be Gabranson just because Columbus has that potential to be better than giving money to this guy. So I'm going to go with Gabranson. It's probably the worst of this offseason. And I think the worst in the NHL, truthfully, I know it's up soon, JVR. I think it's the worst contract in the league.
Wow. I wouldn't even have thought of JVR.
Yeah, I think it's JVR because he produces like a guy who makes $1.2 million. I think he produces less than Engvall, honestly. And I don't have his numbers, so I might be wrong. He makes $7 million, and he's literally besides the Flyers having a shit GM who doesn't know what he's doing or where he is, I'm sure. He's the main reason. That contract is one of the main reasons they didn't get Gaudreau, because Gaudreau was like, I want to go there. And they're like, nah, we'll keep JVR. So,
I mean, I push back on that just a tiny bit. It's still a shit contract, don't get me wrong. But for worst, I mean, the guy 82 games, he still scored 24 goals, 38 points, not bad. 9 goals on the power play, which we know he does very well. Ever since
I think he's gonna bang those in on the power play and stuff, right? Like he might put up 20 points as he should for a $7 million player. I think it's just still an anchor for what he does.
No, for sure. I mean, ever since he signed with Philly, he in order of 2018 to now, 48 points, 40 points, 43 points, 38 points. There's a mulligan there because this was his first full season, all 82 games since he signed the contract. So like his first year,
that's all right.
He had 27 goals in 66 games. That's really good. Right? Then 19 goals, 66 games, not bad. 17 goals, and actually technically he would have played the full season last year because it was 56 games.
When he signed that contract, though, I think he was like 29 or 30. So I was expecting him to go off the first like 2 years of it.
Yeah, I don't think the contract was good when it was signed, but I understood it because it was only, I think it was 5 years or something. So it's not the worst thing ever. But yeah, it's definitely bad. It's bad.
Not great.
Yeah. Matt, what do you think?
Worst, like the two worst deals,
Yeah.
or just JVR in general? The two worst deals. I'm gonna go off the board here. I'm gonna go Nick Leddy this summer.
That guy sucks.
That was 4x4, and for his first 3 seasons, he's got a no move clause.
Ooh.
And the Blues,
What?
that blue line is already like, no, I wouldn't say stacked, but it's pretty crowded because you got Krug, Justin Falk, you got Colton Parayko, or Parayko's contract. Won't get into that, but I don't see why there was a need for Nick Leddy on the already crowded blue line.
They also have not to cut you off. They also have Marco Scandella, who stinks, and he's on a big contract. They have who's that young guy they have that's good? Perunovic?
I think so.
Yeah, Perunovic was like, he tore up the AHL, so he's another guy.
I was thinking of Torpchenko.
No, no. And
No,
don't they
not
have
him.
don't they have like what's that guy's name? Mikola, who's like just a dickhead. I know he's not the best, but yeah, I agree with you. That Nick Leddy contract underratedly bad because that guy stinks. He's not that good.
Well, and they still got to re-sign O'Reilly, Tarasenko,
Tanger's gonna
and
get traded
Kyrou.
though.
Yeah,
Tanger's gonna
I
get
know.
traded.
So that 4 million that chews up into cap space for either O'Reilly or Kyrou, and I don't know why you'd want Nick Leddy over him. And for the worst contract in the NHL right now is going to go to Jeff Skinner. I don't know why Buffalo thought that was a good idea. Is what
That's a good one too.
not 9 million for what 4 or 5 more years?
I think 4 more years. Like,
Because what he scored a bunch before Christmas, and then they're like, okay, that's it. That's enough. I've seen enough, and they signed him to 9 million. It's like, why? Why would you do that?
I have 2 more like honorary mentions
Hold on,
for worst contract in the league.
Hold on. Let me get through mine real quick.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Yeah. I'm gonna push back on Jeff Skinner a little bit, just because. Hold on, give me a second. Let me pull up his hockey
Just because he's
reference
actually good and all these like underlying numbers.
No, that's not even it. That's not even it. Let me just pull it up real quick with my typewriter keyboard. So last year, Jeff Skinner, $9 million. It's a lot. We can all agree it's a lot. Right?
That's a lot.
It's a lot of money.
Listen. No Jack Eichel. Last year, the guy had 33 goals and 30 assists for 63 points in 80 games. To me, $9 million is still too much, but that doesn't spell worst contract in the league to me. The guy played 17 minutes a night. He still had 33 goals, playing with the legs of Tage Thompson, who popped off. I think he went for 40. Kyle Okposo, who was good. Look, I agree with you that the contract isn't good. Would I say it's worse than the league? No, because Marc-Edouard Vlasic's contract is much worse.
See, a bunch of the San Jose contracts could be contenders for worst contract. Carlson's contract. Oh, well, they don't have Burns anymore. But what's Logan Couture's? I forgot what his is.
I'm pretty sure it was an 8x8, but he's still good.
8x8 is not bad for Logan Couture.
Yeah.
It's like
But
Matthew
with San-
Shane. They're like the same kind of.
The same role. Yeah.
You could throw Ryan Johansson there, but Marc-Edouard Vlasic in 2018-19 signed a 7x7 contract.
How old was he then?
Let me check.
Does it check that?
30,
Well, right-
wasn't he 34?
He's 30. He's 35 right now. He's 35 right now, and the contract
That's terrible.
Ends, the contract ends in 2026. Listen. You got from 2018 to 2023 full no move clause. From now the season after this, you got three years in a row modified no trade clause, which is a 3-team trade list. You're gonna be traded to 3 teams, bro.
So one of them's the Habs. You already know.
Yeah.
But yeah, bro, the guy makes $7 million a year. He's so shit. He's so shit now. Like, he's very bad. Oh my goodness. Like, don't get me wrong. Listen. Prime Vlasic, unbelievable player. Very, very steady defensive defenseman. And I think the way he played, I thought he was gonna regress gracefully. Like, a lot of these defensive defensemen, they're still okay, but in a lesser role. Or people will say, "Oh, he's playing too much." The guy barely plays. He's like a third pair role defenseman, and he's still very bad. This contract to me is so bad. You can't even move off it. Like, holy shit, man. It's like you guys. I know you guys said JVR and Skinner. Those guys are still productive players at the minimum. This guy does nothing. He doesn't do anything.
I think
Does
not wrong.
anybody on the Sharks do anything though? That's
I know they're all
besides Hurdle and Meyer.
No, they
they're
got
all on vacation.
No,
Those
they
guys.
don't. But yeah, dude, this contract is god awful. Like, oh my god.
That's a
And-
Doug Wilson special.
And dude, I was like, Mike Greer gets an applause from me for only retaining 33% on that Brent Burns contract, bro. Because that contract was bad too. And for this year, I'm just gonna go. You said Letty, he said Branson. I'll say Ben Sherratt. We all know that contract was off. We already talked about that. But yeah, Marc-Edouard Vlasic, worst contract in the league. Seth Jones, also very not good, but he still has a chance of rebounding at the least. Marc-Edouard Vlasic, holy shit. And then Bobrovsky, obviously. Darius, you were saying?
Yeah, I have some honorable mentions maybe, and I would like to get your guys' thoughts on it. Zach Werenski.
He makes a lot of money, but it's the Columbus tax.
I guess that's true. But 9.5. He makes more than Kale McCarr. Like that's
That was
It's a
also
bit
the
much,
same thing
no?
with that was also the same thing with the Seth Jones deal too. It was the summer of awful defenseman deals because you had Jones, Werenski, and Nurse.
I was gonna
So
say Jones would be another one. 9 point. Like it's not bad yet, but it will be.
The thing is, though, with the Joe's contract, it starts in October. The contract
Yeah, it
starts.
hasn't started yet. He has not
So
played a
there's-
game under
there's
that contract yet.
8 more years. 8 more years.
If I'm him and I saw they just traded Kirby Doc and Alex DeBrincat, and I know that Taves and Kane are on their way out after the end of this year, I'm shitting bricks if I'm Seth Jones. Like that team is gonna be
I wouldn't with
so
that money.
bad.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
I'm
I guess
shooting
that's
gold,
true.
bro, not bricks.
That's
Holy.
true. I guess they have potential to be better in like 3-4 years, right?
They want Connor Bedard, right? That's the whole thing.
Oh, they have to, yeah, for sure, because they have nothing left. They have zero left.
Dude,
But
and like to move to just slightly different, like who wants Jonathan Taves now? That guy's bad.
yeah, and even Patrick Kane, like he might produce for you, but not on that contract. Like he's gonna be well, isn't it done at the end of this year, I guess?
My thing with Patrick Kane is I think he's still going to be good for 85, 90 points every year. But the guy has never back checked and he's never going to start. And I think in a league where like the game is so quick, you need guys that are committed to both sides of the ice. But he's so good. Like Patrick Kane, I think if he was like a deadline pickup, you put him on your second line. You just let him go crazy. Like
he's gonna get the Drew treatment in the way that somebody will pick him up to play on their second line, and then next year he'll get the Kessel treatment, where somebody's gonna pay him just to score.
I was gonna say Kane's like a slightly more expensive Phil Kessel.
Yeah, and he'll get that treatment.
Still a free agent, by the way, Phil Kessel. Still a free agent.
Somebody will scoop him up. It'll be later.
Yeah,
on.
no,
See, I
they'll
hope
scoop
Holland.
they'll scoop him up because they need his Iron Man shirt to keep going. So
Exactly.
See, I said I hope Holland doesn't pick him up to collect all the Leafs Infinity Stones because you have CC, Barry, Campbell, Hyman. So it's like, okay, enough's enough there, Ken. You don't have
next. You need Bozak too.
Oh,
they should trade for JVR as well. I think he's available.
Exactly.
Darius, you said you had one more contract, yeah?
Yeah. What do you guys think of Dougie Hamilton?
apparently he hates museums. Is that true?
Allegedly,
No,
yeah.
he loves
No,
museums.
he would rather go to a museum than
a restaurant.
yes.
Yes.
Okay, we got to trade that.
My thoughts on Dougie Hamilton. When he was with Carolina, elite god level defenseman. I think underrated in his own right. $9 million to me when he signed it was well deserved, like when he signed the contract. This year, first of all, New Jersey is something else, man. Like they have a lot of good players. They re-signed Jonas Siegenthaler today, who I think is a solid, steady, underrated guy. He's good. I like their forwards. Their goalies, I don't know. Mackenzie Blackwood just stopped knowing how to play.
And there's Nico Dawes.
But
they got who'd they get? Somebody this offseason. They signed
Vanacek.
Vanacek. So that should help.
Vanacek. Yeah,
that should help a little bit.
But yeah, Dougie Hamilton, he was very injury plagued this year too, if I recall correctly. I still think I'm not ready to make a decision on that contract, whether it's bad or good. I want to give him a couple more years with actual good players. Jack Hughes barely played this year.
With a team around him.
Jack Hughes barely played. They still got Jesper Bratt to resign. Nico Hischier is really good. I'm a big fan of him. But yeah, I like to see Dougie Hamilton with like a team that plays hockey. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I felt like they just threw the Brings truck at Dougie and said, "Okay, this is who your teammates are. Do something." And that's just something you don't do. Like, he's a good player, but he's not good enough to elevate every single person around him, especially as a defenseman. Like, that's a very rare quality to have in a guy on the blue line as opposed to a forward, right? So
100%.
And New Jersey is one of those teams that if they can finally figure it out, like the guys they have there, that could be a dangerous team. But they just haven't yet.
I still think New Jersey is 2 years away.
From being 2 years away.
Yeah. Shout out to local. Anyway, I'm a big fan of their top six. I think Nico Hischier is relatively underrated in the grand scheme of things. I think he hasn't had that huge point raw production that people like a regular guy would look at on his NHL.com profile. Like, oh, look, this guy's point per game. He must be good. He hasn't shown that yet. His underlines are all very good. He's very solid defensively, good play driver, all that stuff. Jack Hughes had his breakout last year. Aside from his injury, he was over a point per game. I think he was on pace for over 90 points, so he's really good. But that one too of Hischier and Hughes is going to be really good. I think people are just waiting for Hughes to have those points to support his raw analytic numbers.
And then they also picked up Andre Palat too.
Yes, I forgot
That's
about
right.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good, great pickup for them. I
But
think
I don't know. Again, they seem like a team that of just like guys, you know, like they got to like come together and actually play the sport because they had good players last year, but they didn't put it together.
That's my thing. I think they need some of their young guys to get better. I think they still have what's his name? They still have Luke Hughes, who's sick. He's amazing. Right. And then they still have what's his name? Alexander Holtz.
Yep.
Yeah. Like those two guys.
Good young talent too. Yeah.
Those two guys are game breakers as well, right? So we'll see. I think they'll be like if you have like NHL like what the fuck is their thing called? NHL like their pass. It's like league pass. We can watch all the games.
I think it's called that, isn't it? NHL Live?
Yeah, NHL Live.
Some shit like that. If you have that, like New Jersey seems like a fun team to watch because they're exciting and young. But other than that, I don't think they're going to be that good.
Did you know they discontinued NHL Live in Canada going into next year?
Oh yeah, no, it's all on Sportsnet now.
Yeah, you have to subscribe
awful user interface.
It's interesting what they're doing. Yes.
I'm just gonna watch all the games very legally. I don't know about you guys.
Oh, just like everyone else.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
I got center ice.
yeah.
Exactly.
Imagine telling somebody that and they're like, "What?"
Yeah. Satellite, baby. Let's
go. Anyways, fellas, with that being said, I think we can wrap up our first episode of what we're calling the Gritcast Remixed. Thank you all for tuning in. Follow us all on Twitter. Guys, give your handles because I can't remember them for my life.
Darius, you go first.
It's just at Darius Dominguez, and it'll be somewhere in the description wherever you're listening or watching this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can follow me on Twitter at Matt_Mondays.
And I will be on Twitter at Nick LaFlame. Shout out Darius for coming up with this idea and doing the technical behind the scenes stuff because he's very good at that. Shout out Matt for getting a laptop. So
let's go.
Yeah, literally. Shout out Matt for getting everything you need to record this.
Nick and Darius were like, "Hey, you want to do a podcast?" Like, sure, why not? Hopped on Amazon, bought the first laptop I saw.
This guy typed in a laptop and he was like, "This looks good.
This one looks good."
Yeah, this one comes with a mouse.
I don't have to do everything off my phone now. So
yeah, for real though. Anyways, fellas, it's been a good conversation. I hope the viewers, you enjoy this. Y'all have a good night or day whenever you're watching this, and we'll see you all in the next episode, whenever that is. Talk to y'all soon.
Thanks for watching and listening to The Gritcast. For more content, visit our YouTube channel and check us out on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Don't forget to follow the guys on social media at Matt_Mondays, at Nick LaFlame, and at Darius Dominguez.